Have you ever wondered how your career as a product designer will look like in 3 to 5 years? Will you be managing people and having your days full of meetings? Or will you be working on more strategic and complex projects but have to deal with the career angst for not knowing what to do and how to grow further? My name is Ines, I'm a principal product designer at Zalando with 16 years of experience, and I tried both tracks. And in this video I'm going to talk about the differences and pros and cons we have with two career tracks as product designers. And if you are interested to grow in your career beyond the senior title, then follow this channel so not to miss my weekly videos. So 4 years ago, I was presented those two career tracks. Before that, I had no idea they exist. Back then, I had 12 years of experience and I have already tried the managerial track. I was a design manager at my previous big tech company. And moreover, I used to work as an art director in multiple design agencies, so I knew what to expect from the people managers track. But the existence of the individual contributor track was something new for me 4 years ago. And I had to make this choice here and then because I was presented an offer from Zalando. And because the principal design role and the design manager's role are on the same grade, I had this choice and I had to take it there and then. And I had absolutely no idea what is to be expected from this individual contributor track. I googled, I asked around, I even asked Zalando directly, but I received only the vague answers. And I was thinking that something is wrong with me and I cannot understand what is expected from this role. However, after working 2 years as a design manager at my previous company and dealing with a very heavy burnout, I felt that maybe the design manager's path is not for me. So I decided to take this leap of faith and to try this principal track. And 4 years later, I can tell you exactly how they differ and what to expect and what to choose for your own situation. And moreover, last year, I had a chance to become a design manager again for 6 months while my manager was out for a parental leave. And I jumped this opportunity to try out and see if maybe a managerial track is suiting my goals better this time. But no, long story short, I returned to be a principal product designer and I don't regret this decision. But anyways, how are these roles different and what is expected from each role and what shall you pick? I'll start with the managerial track because it was the most familiar track for me for many years, and honestly, I did not think that I will ever have a choice. For me, it was very logical that I will start as a product designer, then I will work my way, and then I will be leading people. And I was really desiring this role until I tried it out. And here I found some benefits and some negative sides of it. Talking about the benefits, of course, what lured me in is the power. Because I was dealing with different leads, I was seeing them doing the work, and I have this perception that I will be a better manager, I can speak better, I have the better touch with the reality, and the job is not that hard, why they are paid more than I am getting. And that idea that I will be directing people, I will be very important, I will take all the decisions and all others will do the work, that was my perception of this role initially. Of course, the job turned out to be slightly different, but those benefits and the power and the perception that you will be this mighty person, and also the perception that you will be providing more impact because you will be telling people what to do and some other people will do the work. That is what I really wanted for a long time in my career. The negative sides that I soon discovered are something I could have anticipated, but for some reason I did not. The first negative side that I found, and that led to my burnout, is that you do not control your calendar. Your calendar is controlled by everybody else, and your calendar is being transparent, and everybody who needs you can drop there a meeting at a random time. And that really exhausted me. Talking about that or hearing people talk about that is one thing, but experiencing it was something different, and it was really hard on me because by my nature, I try to do all the work at the best possible way. And when I see that I'm needed somewhere, I just have this urge to jump in. And that resulted for me working overtime, working long hours, and I mean, not like here and there, but like all the time. Unfortunately, I was also unlucky to become a design manager during the pandemic. So I was promoted a month before the pandemic. And of course, the pandemic was a completely disrupting event. The team was in disarray. They also did not trust me because I was newly promoted. And I just had to deal with a lot of things I never anticipating that I will be doing. And I was shocked and disoriented myself. But because I had this team that I have to lead and they were relying on me, I felt that I have no room and no opportunity to just vent out and to kind of break down. And I always had to soothe other people and I always have to solve their problems with my problems being unattended. Of course, that is not an exemplary way of how manager should be working, but that was my experience and I was newly promoted. If previously I was only working in small organizations and agencies, here I was working in a really big company. So I had to play politics, I had to always be alert and always monitor things that are changing and so on and so on. So indeed, I learned a lot out of this experience, but that is one major downside for this job for me that makes me think all the time if I really want it. The second downside of being a design manager is something that I have experienced working in agencies as an art director already. It's this specific managerial loneliness, and if you were ever leading people, you know what I'm talking about. So you were one of the team members, they were inviting you to go to lunch, they were chatting with you, and you felt that you are on the top of things. But soon after you are being promoted, you suddenly lose this touch with your team. They don't trust you anymore, they hide from you, they go on lunch without you. And that was kind of hard for me as well, being in this position during the pandemic, because I was still a new person in the team and I had no other people that I knew, and we suddenly started working at home. And even if I wanted to find friends among other managers, I could not. And this situation repeated for me last year because I was a team member for many years. I'm working at Zalando since 4 years now, and I knew everyone, everybody knew me. But suddenly, after I became a manager, in a week or two, I started seeing that all the discussions are happening without me. And that is again this managerial loneliness that is possible to deal with if you are staying connected with other managers. And there at Zalando, I had this opportunity because yes, we are working mostly remotely, but we could still visit the office and I was invited in all those managerial rounds and so on and so on. So it was a better experience for me and it was something that I was ready this time. The third downside for me of being a manager is that you will have to deal with changing priorities. And you might say that, yeah, I'm dealing with the changing priorities all the time, although I'm an individual contributor, but believe me, it's a different level because the priorities changes so rapidly that even if you are out of work for a couple of days, you might come and find out that things have changed completely. We just had a reorg, your stakeholder has changed, and so on and so on. And also, yes, as an individual contributor, you are dealing with the change, that's true, but you are also working on bigger projects. Strategic projects, they are never small and they tend to move somewhat slowly. It's still very rare that they drop out the project completely if it is a truly strategic project with a proven benefit so that we need a super IC to work on it. Then you can kind of anticipate a certain stability around this project. With the managerial tasks, there are a lot of very small but important tasks, like your lead needs this presentation by tomorrow. Oh no, now they don't need this presentation because this meeting was rescheduled and now they need something else. And now they are going to present on the public event instead of that, and so on and so on. And you always have to deal with those changes for those smaller projects without you also controlling what is coming your way. Because you are still a very low-level manager and it's not like you can say, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna help you to prepare the slides for your important presentation, Mr. C-level lead. You will have to get along and you will have to figure things out. And most of those tasks, they are not easy to postpone or to negotiate either. So that is also one of the factors why I ended up with a burnout at my previous job. Probably it was not so much an offender as me not being able to control the calendar, but it is also something that increased the perceived workload for me and the pressure I was dealing with. And the last downside for me, for being a manager, is that you can easily get in this managerial illusion of your success. And probably you know what I'm talking about from the perspective of an individual contributor. You might have had a lead who is living in the imaginary world, I cannot say it differently, who are thinking that they are perfect in everything that they are doing, that their judgment is the best judgment that is there. And people like that, they really make the life of your directs miserable. And I must tell you, like, of course, I don't want to admit that I was a manager like that. And so far, the feedback that I received was quite positive, and I think I overall kept being a friend with many people that I was leading, so that is also a good sign. However, I think it's very easy to get into this illusion in the environment like that, because really people are not telling you the most important things. On your one-on-ones, it's really hard to create a safe space for your directs so that they tell you exactly what is wrong with you. Usually people are trying to avoid that because you are in the position of power and you can decide their destiny. And that's why they just vent around the office about how awful it is to work with you. And the people who are giving you feedback, they are not the people you work with directly. So those are other managers or other head of engineering, head of product. They have no idea about who you are as a people manager in your team. And I felt that I'm always lacking this feedback, and I was really grateful for my previous company because they provided me a 9-month course that helped me to figure out what are the criteria and what are the expectations from a good people manager. But most people, when they are promoted to a people manager, they don't get any training. It's just, oh, go figure. You are talking well, you are good at storytelling, and you are good at design. Of course, it will make you a great people manager. But it's not how it works. And if you've ever watched The Office TV series, you might remember that Mike, I guess that was the name, was a great salesperson, but then he was promoted to being a really shitty manager. And that happens more often than not. There are some guardrails of how some companies are preventing that from happening, but honestly, my previous company was almost the only example that I could bring up. The rest just let you figure this, and that's it. And that's why we are also dealing with a lot of incompetent managers. And I just really hated to think about myself as being an incompetent manager and at the same time not getting the proper training that I need. So that was really tough on me, and if you are watching this video and you've been working under my direct supervision, please, sorry if I did something wrong. I am improving and I was really lost in multiple instances. So now I think to summarize this role, it is something that I was aspiring when I was younger because I really wanted the power, but then I realized that this power comes at a cost. And this cost is probably something that I don't want to pay just right now. Maybe later on in my career I will explore something like that, but next time I'm going to be way better prepared. I don't know yet if this point will come and how exactly will I prepare myself, but I will really think carefully about taking on this managerial position next time. By the way, if you like this video and you want to receive more videos like that, give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. It's important for me and for YouTube algorithms to start recommending you similar videos. And we are moving on now to the individual contributor path. The path where you can see title like staff designer, principal product designer, senior principal, distinguished designer maybe one day, because we already have distinguished engineers, so it might come to us as well. But this path is still something new. I was actually surprised to learn that it was not as new as I thought it was, because I was able to find some papers and some books dated 70s and and 80s and 90s, where people were already exploring the dual career path. And I just think that tech adopted this dual career path not that long ago, and that's why it's probably not a surprise that 4 years ago I had no idea what is expected from a principal product designer. And even now I get those questions about like what is exactly my day-to-day look like, what is expected from my role, and that's why I'm basically making all those videos. So the individual contributor track is the track that allows you to stay and work as a UX designer, as a product designer, using your technical expertise and craft. The idea is that you will be working on more strategic, global projects with a lot of complexity and a lot of ambiguity. And it is also expected that you will somehow lead the team with your craft, with your authority, that they will come to you for mentorship and so on and so on. On practice, 4 years ago, I must say that indeed you are usually get to work with more complex and more interesting projects. And this is basically what makes me stay into this role up until this day, because the projects I'm dealing with at Zalando they are just unprecedented. Never in my life I was so involved in those projects, and I was so curious about how to solve the challenges that we are facing, that it is really worth it. And as an individual contributor, I am also staying a part of the team. So I'm well connected with other designers, with my cross-functional peers. They always invite me to have lunch. They talk with me about the most important things that they have at work. They vent with me together. So I'm not feeling disconnected, I'm not feeling lonely, and I don't have to work hard to find those connections elsewhere in the company. I just connect with people around me directly and with ease. And I've gotten the control over my schedule. And moreover, because I'm working on strategic topics that are highly important for the company, everyone respects my schedule. If I say that I can't do it at this way because I plan to do some focus work, chances are this meeting will be rescheduled. So, and I love this control, gosh, because that provides me such a great quality of life and so less stress that I really have my creative power in me still. But of course there are some downsides to it. And the major downside is that expectations from this role are still somewhat vague. Although we have the role compass at the company, there are a lot of articles that are written about how is it to lead. I have my own methodologies that I teach to the mentees who want to become senior ICs, and check out this video if you want to learn about this methodology. But still, the practical implementations of all those things, it is a bit trickier than many people think. How it is exactly that you establish this authority? What shall you do exactly? And this is the answer that is not easy to find, and some answers that you might hear from other mentors, even from me, they will just not be applicable in your organization. Because one of the advice that I often give is to partner up with your manager. But what if your manager is one of those incompetent managers who thinks that they have the better judgment than everybody else in the room? So that is obviously very tricky. And that's why any advice that you will get about how shall you advance as a principal product designer, you should really think through. And there are no one size fits all or rule of thumbs, nothing like that. So you will always have to figure out the way out of your own unique situation. And that is honestly quite tough, because when I was growing from being a junior to being a senior, I was always getting an applicable advice, and now not anymore. And if I want to grow even further, there is even less advice, and it is even harder to implement. The second downside that I note in this role, try to be careful in formulating it, because you are sometimes working with the leads who have no idea about what you are doing, and they give you irrelevant advice and they try to micromanage you. And that comes across as being really annoying if you are already working on the same level with them. But it is also somewhat an expected challenge, because your leads, they are never fully focused. They are running from a meeting to a meeting, dealing with those changes priorities. And when the time comes for them to review your work, to provide their sign-off, it's sometimes really annoying that they are just not trusting you with that. And of course, it depends from the team to a team, from a lead to a lead. I was working with multiple leads at Zalando. I think I had like 3 leads by the date, and they all have different approach to how they manage super ICs. And the best situation is when you get into this partnership and they allow you to co-lead the team. This is the state where you eventually want to end up with. And this position is not given to you by the fact of your promotion. So it's very funny and it's a bit unfair that managers, when they are being promoted, they get direct leads to attach to them. They are all aligned in this system, in the organizational structure and so on. But you, when you are being promoted, nothing changes really. And you have to find your own way to this promotion. And you have to establish this partnership, which is again not always easy. And related to that comes another downside, is that you might feel that you just don't have enough power. Yes, you are given a strategic project, you can decide a lot of things, you are working on the most ambiguous scope that you were ever dealing before, probably, but you are not given a power to decide how to deal with this scope. You still have to align with so many people and they all can be on your level, but they get to take this decision, but you don't, because you are just an individual contributor. I think I found my peace with this situation and I've learned a lot of techniques about how do I practice my storytelling, how do I present them my work, when and how do I ask them for their opinion, but it is again not easy. And one can kind of wish to have more power given to them when they are promoted to a principal product designer. But it's not how it is working. And it's not only the problem of my organization. I've been reading a lot of books about how engineers are dealing with these challenges, how academics are dealing with them even. And this happens across industries. So that is the problem that is very specific to super ICs. And you will have to kind of account for it and you will have to figure out how you will be dealing with it. So to sum it up, the individual contributor role gives me now more purpose in life and increases my quality of life. Mostly because I don't have to deal with changes priorities that much. I'm well rooted in my team and I control my schedule. But still, here and there, I get those concerns that I am not getting enough power that I should be gathering. And it is a bit annoying for me, and at times, on certain days, it is especially annoying that I will have to work my way out to get to a simple decision, to get this authority to decide for myself for the area that I am anyway responsible. So this situation when you are given responsibility, but you are not given the mandate and authority, that is something that bugs me, honestly, many days in the year. And that is why last year I tried this managerial track again to see if me gaining this power is still important to feel fulfilled in my career going forward. And it turns out that I again gained this power at a great cost, and my quality of life somewhat lessened throughout this half year, of course not drastically, and I didn't burn out because I had a great mentor, and the organization I'm working at right now is very mature, and luckily we didn't have a pandemic or nothing like that. But still, returning back to being an individual contributor was somewhat a relief for me. And maybe in the future I will be still exploring this managerial role, as I told you. Maybe I will get better prepared to what is coming. I will learn how to deal with the changing priorities and the workload a bit better. But as of now, I think that the quality of life that I'm getting and the fulfillment as an individual contributor is far greater than this power that I'm not having, because anyways I have developed certain techniques to get this power for myself. So I liaise with key stakeholders, for example. I increase my network both inside of the company and outside of the company, and I think this is something I am more willing to deal with as of right now than with the challenges that comes from working in a really intense environment. So that is my take on the managerial and the individual contributor track. What track would you choose? I'm interested to know, really. Drop that in the comments if you've tried them, if you've changed the tracks. What track do you see yourself working on in 3 and 5 years? Let's continue the discussion there. And if you want to know what qualities do you need to demonstrate to even become a super IC, then check out this video and I see you there.